Hey guys, so today I'm going to be talking about my turtle Petey here, and this is the big turtle in this tank. About a 5-inch adult male or sexually mature Mississippi map turtle, and I'm just going to be talking about a little bit of information on him and also me treating him for shell rot and what I've been doing since I got him when he had shell rot and what I've been trying to do for him and the progress that he's made so far. So I received Petey on July 26th of 2019 and it is currently March 16th of 2020, so I've had him for quite a few months, and I received him, the owner told me that he was possibly 2 to 3 years of age, so I'm assuming they got him as a baby, and he came in a 10-gallon, and from the water stains of the 10-gallon I could tell that it was only filled with like a couple of inches of water, so it wasn't real great husbandry going on. On top of this, it was listed, I got it for free, they didn't want it anymore, and it was listed as maybe a red-eared slider, so they didn't even know what type of turtle it was, which is very sad. And from the picture it looked much larger than it is, I think, but wasn't a whole lot going on there, so I rescued it. And also it didn't mention that it had shell rot on the bottom of its shell, so on its plastron there it has shell rot, which I will show you now, and there you can see right here and right there it has shell rot. Now it's not as bad as when I first got it. It was real kind of concaved when I first got him, and he wasn't doing real well. So how I set him up after that is I filled a 55-gallon all the way up and I put him in there, and then I kept him in that for like the rest of the summer. Tried to just give him the treatment of making sure he has food and making sure he has lots of dilution in the water and just like a large amount of water, and trying to kind of cure him that way. So then come winter, I need to find a place to put him where I could do water changes often. I couldn't fit a 55-gallon in my room, not another one anyway, for him. So what I chose to do is, during that time we didn't have a shower like in my shower area. We were still working on it and we kind of had to tear it out, so I chose to place him there, but first we had to tear it out, and I'll show you that now. Just to clarify, we have a shower in our house, but this is just in my bathroom, so I went ahead and tore this stuff out so then we could eventually work on my shower. But in the meantime I could put my turtle here and then I could fill it in straight from the sink. So here it is in a 30-gallon long tank, and I'm just going ahead and filling it up here from the sink. So I ended up moving that 30-gallon eventually into my room, and during the whole time using that 30-gallon he didn't eat a whole lot. And the reason for this is because, this is actually the 30-gallon right here, by the way. He didn't eat a whole lot because he didn't like swimming around in deep water. And I figured this out because when I took the 30-gallon out of my room, I had it in the living room for a little while. I put the water level to right about what it is now. And he ate every day. He was super active, just loved it. But when he didn't have the when he didn't have this amount of water, he just never swam around, and he didn't eat because of that, because they need to be in the water to eat. So he did eat a little bit, like every once in a while, but not a whole lot. Now he's eating every single day, doing very, very well. So that's why I have him in this setup here. So his shell rot just wasn't getting real better. So on, I want to say December 31st or January 1st, we took him to MedVet, and they gave us a couple different things. They weren't exactly sure what to do, but they described it as severe shell rot, I guess. And they said give him a beta iodine bath twice a day, or povidone iodine bath twice a day, and keep him dry docking, which means just keep him completely dry, make sure he has heat, UVB, and then also feed him once a day, like put him into water and feed him. But other than that, just keep him completely dry, because shell rot's actually caused by like bacterial infection, I think, and being in the water can help that bacteria like eat away at him and help it rot away. So if there wasn't that opportunity, then it should heal, or that's the idea. And then also apply a cream to him every night, and give him a shot every 3 days for 2 months. So I completed all of that, and I'll show you that. That was a little bit from our trip to MedVet, and now you'll see his treatment. So this is basically the routine of one day. First, I'd give him a beta iodine bath, and then I would wash him off in water. Then after that, I would go ahead and add him to a bit of a larger tub with a couple inches of water, and then I would feed him. He would go ahead and eat for me the majority of the time, as you can see here. I gave him mostly sinking like fish pellets, because that's what he seemed to like the most, but he'll eat anything now. And then if it was a day that I needed to give him a shot, then I would go ahead, dry him off, and give him a shot. I did this in like the fleshy area of the front arms, because that's what they told me to do. And I eventually had my dad help me whenever I did it, but for a couple times I just did it alone, which wasn't most ideal. And then come nighttime, I would wash him again in a beta iodine bath, and once I was done with that, wash him off again, dry him off, and then I would go ahead and apply the antibacterial cream on his underside, which is that stuff there. Now, while that did seem to help, I'm not exactly sure that that was what was helping him. I honestly think that that was more stress to him, and that's why I decided to move him into this tank, or into a 20-gallon actually, and I'll show you that'll be in a different video. But basically what I think that was just pure stress. Every 3 days we'd give him a shot, and twice a day I'd get him out and mess with him, and that's just not healthy for a turtle. So eventually he went off food, and I didn't know what to do exactly, so we waited. It was only like, I think he went off food for 2 weeks. That's what I want to say. And after the 2 weeks, we were done with his treatment, and that sounds like a long time for a small animal to be off treatment. But the thing was, he wasn't like drastically losing weight or anything, and he had already been like on and off food for like quite a long time, for quite a few months, and he wasn't dropping a ton of weight. He was sustaining it pretty well, so I wasn't exactly worried about it. So basically, my thought process was, we need to get him in an enclosure, make sure it has a heater, a filter, make sure everything's proper husbandry and everything, and this amount of water, this like couple inches of water, I want to say like 5, 6, 4 inches, something like that, of water, and then he'll eat. Like, I was just pretty positive of this, and I was right. I moved him into a 20-gallon. Like I said, I'll do that in a different video. And he went ahead and is now eating and doing perfectly great. So I think the treatment from now on is just make sure that he has proper husbandry, completely proper husbandry, and lots of food. And I think if I can supply those two things, that he will end up healing up. He does appear to be healing up on his shell, and he's doing very well. As you can see, he's active and everything. Now, I do have 2 other turtles in here. Those are 2 red-eared sliders that I recently took in. They're not hurting anything being in here. They're very similar requirements because they are so small, and PD likes a smaller, not a smaller quantity of water, but a smaller height of water. What I'd love to do is give them like a 55-gallon tank that has this much water in it, if that makes sense. Just try to make the tank size as big as I can, so then he's actually getting like a proper gallonage of water. because I'd like to keep them at at least 50 gallons or 40 gallons would be really great, but that's really hard when it's only 6 inches of water. So that's the reasoning behind his current enclosure. So basically, I'm not completely sure how to cure shell rot. I'm not sure. I'm kind of just trying things because this is my first turtle that I've had this problem with. Like I said, I took it in July and it had shell rot. Now, I had watched videos and stuff about how to treat them, and basically it was scrub them with a toothbrush with povidone iodine, which is what the vet told me. So basically, I watched those videos, and I'd done that with other turtles, and I didn't really see a whole lot of difference or anything. I just didn't really, or I'd done that with him, I just didn't really see a whole lot of difference, and I wasn't sure if I was just causing unneeded stress. So that's why I decided to go to the vet. And honestly, I'm not completely sure that they knew exactly what to do, I don't know. It just didn't seem to make a whole lot of difference. So I feel like at this point it's just to keep him correctly, and I think he'll do well, and give him a large amount of water. That I think that's really helpful with curing curing turtles of things. Just give them completely proper husbandry, and they'll pretty much fix themselves. And I think that's kind of the thing that I'm taking away from this. But actually, when I first got them, I should messaged a picture to Shelled Reptiles, which is another YouTuber much more popular than I am. I know him from a couple different things that we've done at this point. But he was like, I've seen a turtle like this before, and I helped it by just keeping it correctly. So I guess he was right all along, because that's what I'm getting from this experience as well. But the povidone iodine baths, what they actually do is that's just something that you put on open wounds. So you can use that with people as well. So I think they kind of help the healing process, or I think they're also a antibacterial type of thing. That's what povidone iodine is, I do believe. And then that is also what the cream was. I'm actually going to get those real quick to show you. So here is povidone iodine, and what the vet actually gave me was betadine, I think, and it's the same thing. It's just, I think povidone iodine's the actual name, and then betadine is the brand name that is povidone iodine. So I just looked it up, they're the same thing, and it basically prevents infection. So that's why you'd use it on a wound or whatnot to help it, and that's why I used it on shell rot, because it's rotting because of infection. And I've also used this, my green iguana had mites. If you can't tell at this point from watching in my videos, I take in very troubled animals all the time. So I didn't actually take in Charlie the iguana. I bought him, but he was my first reptile. I don't buy reptiles anymore. I used this on him as well, because when he had external parasites or mites, the common reptile mite, they would get into his scales and his skin and stuff, and that could cause infection and whatnot. But it just helped to put this on the wound. And then here is the thing. There's that. I'm not exactly sure what. I don't think there's a whole lot of information on there, but here it is. I looked this up, and it doesn't really say anything on it, I don't think, but it's just also an antibacterial cream, basically, and I think I'm saying that correctly, and it's common to use on burnt wounds and stuff, or fire wounds or whatnot. So again, something that you use with people. And then also we were giving him, on top of those two things, we were also injecting him every 3 days with honestly I don't know what the medicine's called, but it was an antibacterial bacterial shot, basically. And I think what this did, and this is just my hypothesis here, is that it kind of started to kill the good bacteria. Like, it basically made him sick, and that's why he wasn't eating, is because they, like, all organisms need good bacteria inside their stomachs and their systems and whatnot to complete different things that help you. And if he got too much of the stuff inside of his body or whatnot, it might have killed off like good bacteria, which can kind of shut down their systems. And that's what I feel like happened, or it was just stress. And stress was more likely, because I feel like it would have been a lot harder to get him to like start acting normal again if it was the problem of too much antibiotic. So that's pretty much everything with Petey so far. Again, I will be putting out a video about putting him into a different enclosure, and then also I already put out a video about putting him into this enclosure, actually, but that video is mainly about the cute little turtles down there, the little red-eared sliders, which I'm glad I got them, because they weren't housed in like amazing condition, or the people that had them weren't as in-depth about turtles as I am. It was actually my sister who has them for her children, so I'm glad that I have them, so then I can make sure that they have proper UVB, proper heating, proper filtration, and everything, so then I can see what a really nice looking turtle looks like when it grows up, if that makes sense. Because a lot of the animals that I take in aren't exactly raised the best way, in the case of Petey here. So you don't really get to see the perfect animal. But Petey is like healthy looking. Like, you wouldn't really realize that he has shell rot unless you flipped him over, so which we didn't realize until we got him. So I feel like shell rot, metabolic bone disease, and like ear infections are like the most common things with turtles, and I've kind of treated one of those now. I have seen like quite a few turtles with ear infections that are posted, but I've never really gotten one or had the opportunity to get one, so I guess I'll deal with that in the future. If you were wondering, I do plan on being a exotic animal veterinarian or working with animals when I grow up. I'm only a teenager, so that's why I like dealing with animals that have just not been raised well, that could be doing much better, not just for their sake, or mainly for their sake, but also for my sake of learning, because I love learning about this stuff. So I hope you guys do too, and we can cure all of them to make the world a better place. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, like down below. If you have any comments or concerns, put in the comments below. And if you want content, then subscribe. Have a fantastic day.